Key witness whose testimony was used in the indictment of Julian Assange has admitted to lying. Secretary Thordarson, who was recruited by the United States to build a case against Julian Assange, reportedly misled the U.S. investigators that claiming that he was a close associate of Julian Assange. In 2010, Thordarson had volunteered on a limited basis to raise funds for WikiLeaks, but instead was accused of embezzling funds to the tune of $50,000 from WikiLeaks. The U.S. Justice Department and the FBI, which is investigating this case, relied on his testimony where he claims that Julian Assange reportedly asked him to hack into and access phone recordings of MPs in Iceland. And the U.S. Justice Department and the FBI then used this testimony to establish a pattern of how Assange had used Chelsea Manning, a whistleblower, in accessing and leaking sensitive documents. But Thordarson, in his interactions with an Icelandic paper called, now claims that Assange never asked him to hack into and access the call recordings of Iceland's MPs. Instead, he now states that the call recordings were given to him by a third party, which he then forwarded without having any idea what the recordings were about. Now, Thordarson reportedly turned a witness and informer, and he was then promised immunity from prosecution by U.S. authorities. The United States now wants to extradite Julian Assange, who is presently held at the Belmarsh prison in Britain. And if convicted in a U.S. court, Assange could be sentenced to 175 years for violating the U.S. Espionage Act. Now, the indictment of Julian Assange has raised fears of the freedom of press in the United States and beyond. Meanwhile, other whistleblower Edward Snowden has expressed fears from Assange's life after antivirus mogul John McAfee died by apparent suicide in a prison in Barcelona after it became known that he was being extradited to the United States. Snowden tweeted, and I'm quoting here, "Europe should not extradite those accused of non-violent crimes to a court system that is so unfair, a prison system so cruel that native-born defendants would rather die than become subject to it." Julian Assange could be next. Until the system is reformed, a moratorium should remain.